Hello and welcome back to another episode of Fan Behavior and F1 podcast. I am Zoe and I'm here with Hannah.
Hey.
Hello. Another week, another race.
Another race.
I guess this is
and
how
another
it works.
sprint.
Another sprint.
Yeah.
2 sprints back to back.
I know.
Which is gonna be fun, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Why do I feel like when we recorded last, it was like, what were we doing last time? Oh, it was an off week. I don't know if this feels like, I feel like we haven't done this in a long time.
We haven't done this in a long time. Yes.
I feel like the last race we did was Spa,
I think it was.
Or no.
Is that too long ago?
It was not Spa. It was Monza.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I was gone for Singapore and Suzuka.
Yeah. So it's been about a month.
Yeah.
Since we've done a race recap.
Yeah.
But we're back. Just want to say a quick thank you to everyone who has watched our Travis Kelce Taylor Swift YouTube video. Almost has 5,000 views,
which is crazy.
Which is pretty crazy.
We've definitely reached non-Formula One fans.
Yes. And we have gotten some requests from people, wanting that to become a regular occurrence. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can do
like that specific duo conversation, or just
both.
Okay.
But obviously there needs to be, that episode covered so much, there was so much content to cover. So, we need to give some time for more content to come our way. But maybe that's what that's where we can do our pop culture stuff is like put up on the YouTubes. We are so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And so I am asking you, I'm begging you on my hands and knees, even though I'm sitting down in a chair. If you haven't already, to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And as always, leave reviews, Spotify, Apple.
Share with your friends.
Follow us on all the socials. Just all the things.
Please and
so that you can get sick of us and then eventually unfollow us at some point.
No. Not for that reason. I'd like you to stay.
Yeah. We'd really appreciate it. Should we get into the stuff that happened pre-race weekend?
Yes. Can I talk about our friends before I do that?
Yes,
okay.
you may.
So as you know, we are headed to Dakota soon. We're very excited. And I've already been trying to figure out what I'm going to wear. And some of my Fifth Gear Garms merch is definitely going to make the cut. And if you have not purchased from them yet, I don't know what you're doing. You should. One of my things that I haven't purchased yet that I really want to is the Gulf Livery Williams design that they did.
Yep.
But they have great stuff, embroidered stuff, screen printed t-shirts, so much fun. So you can get 10% off if you go to fifthgeargarms.com and use code FANBEHAVIOR10, or just to make it easy, you can go to the link in our bio on our TikTok or on our Instagram, and the code will be automatically applied. So happy shopping.
Yeah. Get yourself something nice.
Yeah.
Treat yourself.
Exactly. Treat yourself.
Okay. So the first piece of news was that Helmut Marko kind of confirmed that Liam will be in the seat in 2025, which is funny because Christian basically was like, it's not guaranteed. And then Helmut was like, he will be there. Now, he wasn't explicit in saying he has it in his contract that he will be, but he said like he will be there. So, which I think we all knew and felt and believed, because I think,
and Helmut doesn't work for Red Bull, so he's allowed to say
he
that.
Can say whatever he wants.
So thank God for that.
So that was just kind of funny.
Yeah, it was. And it makes sense because
I am curious though, like what the logistics of that is, and like what is actually guaranteed or not guaranteed. Agreed. Or who that would be affecting. I mean, I obviously don't think that they have in their contract Liam will be replacing this. I don't think it's so specific,
black and white. Yeah.
Because obviously there's so much that could happen, and I feel like next season will just be like chaos.
Yeah.
With the driver market and stuff. So we don't know, but Liam, congratulations on your race seat. 2025.
Very excited for you.
Looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah. But it does explain why he's like so chill about it.
Yes.
And not necessarily like looking for something else.
Yes. And then the other thing was that Andretti moves one step closer to getting on the F1 grid. They were approved by the FIA, which wasn't a surprise because the FIA definitely would like to have more teams in Formula One, but Formula One itself, that's the next step in the process.
Yeah.
And it does not seem like they will be met with open arms.
Probably not. But it's kind of one of those, like, of course the FIA let them in so that the bad guys wouldn't be the FIA.
Right. And I guess it depends on what your viewpoint is, right? Who are the bad guys?
Sure.
But
not bad guys in the sense of like they're actually doing something wrong, just in the sense of like, well, the FIA knows that there's still a really big hurdle for them to jump through. So by them just being like, yes, approved.
Yeah.
It's not the FIA blocking a new team.
Yes.
Strategic.
Right. And as we mentioned before, a lot of the teams that are lower on the grid that struggle financially, I think James has come out and very explicitly said like he is not in favor of there being an 11th team because they're already financially struggling. And they have to pay obviously a very large like entrance fee to get into Formula One, which would get split among the current teams. But obviously is
it proportion? Like, does Red Bull get more because they have more money?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. I think it's even split, but I could be totally wrong. So don't quote me on that. But obviously then you come in and you are then having to now split the money 11 ways rather than 10 ways, which would hurt again teams like Williams or Haas or other teams that are struggling. But again, my perspective is, and I think like Lewis had an interesting perspective on it too, which is, more teams, more chances for diversity, women to get into F1, just other drivers in general, and also jobs. Like I think people forget like that's hundreds and hundreds of jobs. Yeah, I guess depends on the size of the team, but jobs for people. And the other thing too, for me, it's like, it's just a little bit, what I find difficult about it is they are more than okay. F1 is more than happy to go to the States to race 3 different races, to take American money. They want those dollars, but then it's like, we won't, and I don't even put Haas in there as it doesn't count as an American team. They have an American owner. But then when it comes to wanting an American team, they're like, and I know it's not American specific. They're not judging it because they're American.
Right.
But it still is like, I think you are maybe underestimating the value that a team like Andretti, what that could bring to F1.
Yeah.
And sustaining the American F1 boom. Will I be more like, will I automatically root for Andretti because I'm American? No, not necessarily, but I think there's a lot of motorsport fans, maybe IndyCar, NASCAR, who would be more interested in Formula One because of
or it would cause them to put eyes on Formula One when they haven't before.
Yes. So I don't know. I think it would be interesting. I understand the concern. Obviously, I am not I don't work in business or finance or understand the economics of the sport, but and I don't want it to be the case where if there is an 11th team that then leads to a team basically having to bow out because they can't financially sustain themselves.
Agreed.
So I understand that it's a tricky, but the good thing is they did not approve, the FIA only approved Andretti, which means that they did not approve the Mazepin team.
Shocking.
Which is good.
Yeah, they've done something right.
No worries there.
Can't believe we're still talking about the Mazepin.
I know. Worse.
Humpty
Dumpty.
He had a great fall, didn't he?
Such a great fall. I mean, really not so much. I'm sure I have no idea what the state of their family is currently, but
I don't either. I don't
care.
No.
Anyway, so I'll be curious to see what ends up happening and how they navigate that, and
kind of don't
what
feel
kind
like
of PR, what kind of PR spin will happen, and like if it becomes.
Do you think they'll get approved?
I don't know.
Do you know how? Well, like, is it like it has to be like a unanimous vote, or is it just like the majority?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. I mean, we know that Alpine will definitely vote yes because Andretti already has an agreement to use Renault engines, which doesn't spell good things. Doesn't spell good things for Andretti if they're using the Renault engine.
Fair point.
But so they got one team on their side, and it's weird. Like Zach Brown was like at one point very pro Andretti being on the grid. Like he was like one of the guys in favor, but I think he's kind of walked that back a little bit because there's so much resistance, and I think he is also obviously thinking about it from a financial POV.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Colton Herta might have to wait some more.
And here's a maybe dumb question, but the IndyCar driver who is supposed to go to McLaren,
Oh, Alex Palou?
Yeah, where is he going now?
Well, I think he's re-signed with Chip Ganassi.
I couldn't remember if he was... the IndyCar Sports or the Team Breakdown, like really confusing.
McLaren's suing Alex for like $20 million or something crazy.
Oh, okay.
So both Alex Palou, both Alex and McLaren get themselves in these types of situations. You know, it's a little interesting.
Well, let's turn it together now.
Exactly. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. Best of luck to Andretti. All right, Qatar Grand Prix.
Qatar.
So initially, like practice, the big story was, damn, there's a lot of dust and there's a lot of wind.
Yep.
Because people were getting pushed off the track. Dust was flying up. And, you know, in a sprint weekend, you only have one practice session. So a lot to learn in one practice.
Right.
And then we jump immediately to qualifying.
Yeah.
Track limits were like, it was like
every other. It was just like, you get
exactly. Oprah.
Track limits.
Oprah. Yeah. And it's just funny to me. Like we talked about this before.
Yeah.
What was that? It was the one where there's always, it's Austria.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where we're like, you know, if it's a rule, follow the rule. But then it's also to the point where it's just like,
do we need to change the track?
The problem is if so many people are having the problem, then it's never really it's not
the driver's responsibility.
Well, no,
almost.
It no longer matters because everyone's for the most part is getting penalized.
Yeah,
so
okay,
it's like,
I see what you're saying.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But also, like, there is something to be said for, like, if everybody is struggling with track limits, do we need to change where the line for track limits is at this particular? I mean, it's fun.
Right.
I mean, I think it makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
But also, it's like, is it the drivers or is it the track?
Right.
And is it the wind? I don't know.
So much to say.
Wind's a paid actor in this situation.
Yeah. Checo got out in Q2, which we did predict.
Yeah,
we were watching it. Because if there's a track where track limits are a factor, Checo's gonna struggle.
That's true.
He just, for whatever reason, can't do it mentally. Carlos also got out in Q2 as well.
Yeah.
You had Oscar and Lando both. Well, you had Lando very clearly going over the line, and like even though he was P2, it took forever for them to actually demote him down.
Yeah.
But we all were like, okay, he's not gonna have P2.
Yeah, and even he knew it.
And he knew it, and everyone knew. And he does get brought down before they start the interviews. But Oscar,
this is just so classic Formula One.
Yeah. Oscar thinks that he is
P3.
P3. Yes. No, P2. I think he was. I think
I thought George was
Lando dropping.
That
Oscar was P2 then, and then George was 3.
Okay.
And then Oscar drops, and then George gets brought up to P2. I think that's how it went down. And Naomi is like interviewing Oscar, and she's like, I'm so sorry, but
they're at the end of the interview.
Yeah. I think
just in
that you actually have you just lost that time and you're P6.
He's like, oh, that's great.
But if it had to happen to anyone,
he's the perfect candidate,
perfect person, because he's gonna just like laugh it off.
Yeah,
he's gonna think it's funny.
Brought it up all weekend,
and then the freaking Instagram post was so funny.
P1, P2, and
P6. It's so funny. I loved it.
So good.
But yeah, that was definitely like a talking point. I think even like because then Lewis got promoted to P3,
right? And
he said, I think in the interview, whatever the post qualifying thing, he was like, Lando deserves to be up here. I think his point was like kind of what you said, like, let's change the track layout so that if you do go wide, like you don't get an advantage. And basically like this is a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is happening to all these people and it's affecting everybody.
Yeah. It was also really sweet to see Lewis was like so supportive of Oscar in the comment section this weekend.
That was cute.
That was very sweet.
That was nice.
And then did you see when Esteban, like, I think Oscar was like, we should do like the remote control cars race. And then he was like, sounds great, blah, blah. And then Esteban just comes in and he tags both of them and he just puts this emoji of him raising his hand. And I was like,
you weren't invited, Esteban?
Yeah. But like, hey, he's asking for what he wants.
Because Esteban and Lewis did do it that one time.
I know, but I think he got, he felt left out. And honestly, like, good on him for just being like, hey guys, I'm still here. I'd like to be there as well.
Yeah. I wonder if they like said anything or if they like.
I didn't dig in further, but it does not appear that anyone responded. But they've got a lot of notification history, so it's quite possible they've just missed it.
Yeah, the video of like a young Lewis Hamilton doing his little remote control cars, he is so locked and loaded.
Yeah.
I get the sense that he, and I could be totally wrong, but I get the sense that he was someone who like didn't have a lot of friends growing up.
Lewis?
Yeah,
because he couldn't. They were distractions,
or not even that. I just feel like he was always sort of a bit of like an outsider.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he was It's one of those things that like these great athletes, like they focus on things other people aren't focusing on, which is why they become great.
Right.
It's like, it's the same reason, like, yeah, Max has some friends, but like when he's the majority of the time when he has time to do something, he's in his sim, he's not going out, he's not playing pickleball.
Right.
Crazy.
Right. Totally.
So I could see that being and yeah, the outsider thing too, but just like he has goals that are different than his friends who are trying to date girls,
Yeah, or just like play outside.
Yeah. Silly. Can't be climbing trees.
No.
I'm a world champion.
But the big story from qualifying was Mr. Lance Stroll, who qualifies P17, 1.1 seconds, 1.1 seconds slower than Fernando in Q1, which, I mean, obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you know about Formula One, but a second in Formula One is like
an eternity.
An eternity. I mean, it's if a driver is like 0.3 slower than his teammate, it's like, ooh, okay, like that's that's not great.
Yeah.
But a second is like
crazy.
I mean, there's been multiple times that drivers have been asked, like, if everyone was in the same car, if everyone had the same car, what would the difference be from P1 to P20? And they've said like half a second.
Yeah, crazy.
Because they're all that close.
Yeah.
So that was bad. And again, it's just like, even just that in and of itself is like, oh my God, Lance is just having a rough time. I don't know. I can't even remember what happened to him in Suzuka. I don't know. Watch. Did he retire from that race? I don't remember because I wasn't paying attention to him. But the worst part came when he gets out of the car. Because the first strike was he throws his steering wheel, which for those who don't know, costs around $100,000.
Sure. Patat owns the team.
Not a cheap toy. Chucks it, gets out of the car. His trainer appears to be like, it seems like he's telling him to go the other way. I think he had to go to like the way bridge or something like that, or like but he like kind of dismisses him and then is like walking to kind of go behind the garage and then shoves him, pushes him.
And allegedly the trainer did make contact first, and not in a like aggressive way, but
I think like tell him you got to go the other way.
Get his attention, like try and calm him down. Doesn't really matter, but
it doesn't matter. And it was just like,
I mean, definitely don't poke the bear, but the bear shouldn't shove the trainer either.
No. And it was just saying that, okay, because there's so many like different nuances to the conversation, because obviously Lance is struggling.
Yes.
Like he is not mentally well.
Correct.
He is, we see it. So how quickly someone can be doing fine and then
not doing fine.
And then not doing fine. And then the like, what's the word? Like the avalanche, that's not the word I'm
snowball
for. Snowball. Thank you. I guess in Lance's case, it probably isn't.
The snowball became an avalanche.
Yeah, of just like the building of the bad result, and the every it just gets worse, and then you get more in your head, more in your head.
And the questions are more annoying from media.
They're
just bad questions. How are you doing? Not well.
Yeah. And so I totally have sympathy for Lance in that regard. That it is difficult, and having, I don't know, like people coming down on him and being super harsh on him and whatever is a challenge. But And like, again, a lot of people keep bringing up how Daniel Ricciardo was treated or how he acted last year compared to Lance, right? And obviously, like, different situations because, well, I think Lance is doing worse than Fernando, honestly. I mean, Lance is doing worse than Daniel was last year, but obviously Daniel is not the son of the owner.
Right.
He's not dealing with the nepotism questions. Now he is dealing with he's only here because he's marketable and he's famous, but it's obviously very different than Lance's whole career basically being told you're here because your dad paid for you to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel obviously has like the years of him doing very well to like sort of raise the way that people think of him. But even still with the mental issues, you don't get to act that way.
No.
You don't get to act like a spoiled child because you didn't do what you needed to do.
Right.
And you certainly don't get to shove somebody who is just truly as a trainer, they are just there to help you out.
Yeah.
Like, they're not making a strategy call. They're not, not that it's okay to like shove your team principal or like your strategist or something, but like he really is just there to help you.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was really lame.
Yeah, it's bad. And I also think like the interview piece is hard because it was like so cringy watching him. I think what's so difficult is like the media has a job, which is to interview these people. There's not a lot of questions. And I feel like critique the questions that are asked, even though I know that it's hard to like, what else are you going to ask? Like they have a very specific, they're trying to get a response about what just happened, which means obviously we've recognized over the last few weeks that you've been having a difficult time. How are you feeling? Like shit. Okay, awesome. Like that's a bad question, but there's not a lot of other things to ask to get, the response needed for the situation that's going on. And I think, and this might be a hot take, or I haven't paid enough attention to other sports to really, there's something to me when someone's in a bad space, I don't love the requirement that they have to go to the media and talk to the media.
Yeah.
Like, I think that I understand that we want, everyone wants to kind of hear from the person, like straight from the horse's mouth, what's going on, how they're feeling. I get all of that. But sometimes the situations are just so high and intense that it's like, we're not really doing anyone any favors, because this journalist probably is like frustrated or caught off guard. Lance looks like an ass on TV and was being an ass, but he's also just like, he would have responded to anybody that way. Yeah. But now because there are rules and he could get penalized if he doesn't go talk to the media. But like, does Aston Martin actually want this guy to be talking to the media right now? I don't know. I mean, I don't know that there's like a clear-cut answer or like good way to handle or like what the rules would even be for that. But sometimes I just think it's tough. And even today, like with Lewis, like he looked so defeated and frustrated. And I mean, obviously he always but often handles these things with grace, but like, it's still a bummer too, that he has to go into the bullpen and like, give interviews after that happens.
Yeah. I guess my perspective is like, it's part of the gig.
For sure.
And it's like, you need to be able to handle your emotions and not, this is the reality too. It's not life. I mean, I guess you could say it is life or death in racing, because if they have a bad accident, they could die. But in terms of like you qualifying P17, it's not like, you were in war and your family got murdered.
Of course.
So like you can handle, my feeling is you can handle, and I, again, not to keep bringing up Daniel, but like, how many interviews did Daniel have to do after just terrible races?
But that's part of my point too, is he shouldn't have had to. I don't always think that that's like a good thing for people.
And I don't know if it's good, but it is what everyone has to do. And I think the issue is because if you say, well, you could have some, you can get out of it. I think they just get fined.
Yeah.
Then you'd have people doing it all the time. You'd have people like abusing the privilege.
For sure. And that's where it gets tricky. I just remember that, and I remember the scene in Drive to Survive when Daniel was just like, do I have, like, what's the fine? Like, can I just take the fine? I can't do this.
Yeah.
And even then it's Monaco, just kind of, them just being like, no, mate, you should really just, and it's like, let him take it's his money.
Yeah, it is. I don't actually know if it is his money. Well, that's a good question.
Anyway, it was bummer.
It was just a bummer all around. And like, but I think the hard part for Lance too, I think why people are obviously harder on Lance is because it's like you shouldn't be in this position because you shouldn't be on the grid. Mm-hmm. Like, and this is where it gets difficult, and like the merging of business and family. It's like a hard decision needs to be made. Lance should not be racing for Aston Martin anymore. He just shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But he won't get fired because it's his father. Like, it's just a really bad position for everybody involved, because it's like someone needs to be the bigger person. And I think like Daniel recently talked about, you know, he's like, it's not fun to be fired. He's like, but I needed it. Like, it was the best thing that happened to me, because I wouldn't have decided to leave McLaren, but I was in a terrible place.
I can't imagine if he was still racing there right now.
I mean, who knows? He could have been on a podium today.
Yeah, he could have. It wasn't looking likely.
But so I just think it's just a really rough place to be, and I don't know. I feel like someone needs to step in and just say to him, like, your time's up. Mm-hmm. And actually someone was saying like the call to have Fernando was a bad call. The call to bring in Fernando was a bad call, because if Lawrence's whole goal is like Lance Stroll is the guy, Lance, where, you know, then you're bringing in a guy that's making your person look terrible. So it's like, you either need to get rid of Fernando.
Yeah.
Or
which is stupid.
You need to get, but like, it's so glaringly obvious that, I mean, what if Fernando gets replaced by Yuki? And then Yuki crushes Lance.
I don't know. I'm also just curious, like, with, you know, I had this thought too with like all this stuff going on. Like, obviously Lance, I feel like, has had a hard time, but I feel like he was more emotional this weekend than I feel like I've seen in a while. And I wonder if it has anything to do with the rumors of his dad selling the team.
Oh, yeah.
Because part of me wonders if his dad really is selling the team, he knows he's almost done. Yeah. And it's like, and of course, this is just like a hypothetical, might have nothing to do with anything. Right.
I keep saying it, but he needs to go to IndyCar. I think
he would be great in IndyCar.
He would do well in IndyCar.
Yeah.
You know, he's Canadian. They have one race in Canada.
So perfect.
So great, but at least, you know, close to home. Mm-hmm. And I just think that's more his speed, literally his speed. I mean, actually, I don't know how fast they go in IndyCar, how it compares to F1, but I
also think it just has to be an insurmountable amount of pressure.
100%.
That like no one needs.
100%.
It's like there's enough pressure, there's enough stakes. Like, you don't need to have the world on your shoulders.
And
like
Lance,
that.
Again, he's a good enough driver to like have success in IndyCar on his own. Like, totally removed from his dad. Yeah, get a seat with some team and do a good job. I think he 100% could figure out some way to do that.
Agreed.
I think it's probably too late for him to go to IndyCar now. Maybe not. I actually don't know if
this season seats
available
for like 2024.
Yeah. And then obviously, what's Aston Martin gonna do? I guess probably get Yuki. That's probably what they would do.
I would think,
if Yuki would want to leave. I guess he probably would. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see what happens, but not a great situation for Lance. Okay. Sprint quali and the sprint race. So big change happened before the sprint quali on Saturday. Pirelli decided, so Pirelli analyzes their tires right after a day, and they look at how did the tires do, safety concerns, yada, yada, yada. And they noticed that on one particular curb, when drivers were going over the curb, it was basically causing a big issue with the tire. I think I said, I have written down, there was high frequency interference with the tires. And for more technical terms, there was separation in the sidewall between the topping compound and the carcass cords of the tire.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Basically, what was happening was when these tires were repeatedly going over this specific curb, it was causing a lot of damage to the tire, which then there was a big risk of like a blowout, a puncture, and they realized this isn't safe. And so they basically decided to bring the white line in further so that they wouldn't be going over this curb. So it made the track more narrow. But obviously then that means track limits. So
tricky little game.
Tricky. And they gave him like 10 minutes to practice. It's like, okay. And they're like, all right, now get on with it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So that was an interesting little addition. And there was already rumblings that they felt like the FIA was going to decide to mandate a 3-stop race or put a limit on the amount of laps that drivers could do on a new set of tires. Again, safety concerns, because they felt like these tires were not going to be able to withstand more than, what was it? I think 18 laps. Yeah. So anyway, they get right into quali. I feel like the notable thing was Lewis gets out in Q2 and Oscar gets pole. And, you know, it was a great day for Oscar Piastri.
Yeah.
Great day for Nicole Piastri, his mother.
I love her. She was, even though she had to cancel her Pilates class.
Know,
it was a good day.
It was a great day. She also Pierre Gasly fan.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we had what, 4 safety cars in quali?
We had a lot of in the sprint.
I mean, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, in the sprint.
We haven't gotten there yet, but
I know. It's just they all
it's a lot. I know.
Together. Excuse me, everyone.
But I was very happy for Oscar, and he just continues to have. And Lando kept being. He went wide in the sprint quali, could have gotten pole, but track limits, and he was just very hard on himself the whole weekend.
I felt bad.
And I think we're now seeing like that battle between Lando and Oscar is going to be really, really good next year. Like I think it's going to be very back and forth. And obviously as a Daniel Ricciardo fan, it wasn't fun seeing what happened to him last year, but it's like,
now it's fun.
This is great for Oscar and for Lando. And I really like them. I feel like them as a duo right up there with the best.
Agreed.
I mean, obviously Daniel, Yuki, Charles and Carlos. I mean, I like, even though they're kind of like weird, but like I do like Lewis and George.
Me too.
And then I'd say it's Oscar and Lando.
Yeah, I love them.
I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting somebody.
No.
Yeah, a lot of great,
don't think
other
so.
good people, but the
duos
is not quite.
Yeah, the synergy doesn't really like keep going.
Yeah, and we barely had. I mean, it's probably unfair to put Daniel and Yuki. And though, to be fair too, like, well, I mean, Lando and Oscar are fun together. Who's the most fun duo? I mean, honestly, I think it might be Charles and Carlos, but just because they've had
the time,
so much time, and they seem to have like good.
Although Liam and Yuki are fun too. Like
Liam and Yuki are fun too, for sure.
But they're new.
But they're
fresh.
So fresh.
We don't know yet.
Well, I guess, and they're not really. I mean, they've been friends for a while, even pre. I think because F2 stuff or something, they raced together. But I just like them as a duo, and I think that they're fun.
And everyone keeps telling, and I need to go back and watch some of Oscar's old stuff from.
Oh yeah,
because I've been told I need to watch it, and I still haven't done that. So I need to.
He's a funny guy.
If you have any like specific video recommendations, please let me know.
Yes,
because I always need like a really good place to start, and then I'll go into my own little hole.
Yes. All right, sprint race. Liam makes really his first mistake so far, and just.
It was a big one though.
Big one, ends up in the gravel. I thought he got hit, but
I did too.
On reflection, he did not.
No, he just was all on his own.
All on his own. And then
you're on your own, kid.
You're on your own, kid. And then Logan as well. Beaches it.
Poor Logan.
I know.
I am really starting to feel sad.
Now it's the sympathy, and that's
it is. It is.
That's the worst. You don't want to feel sympathy for any of these people.
No, because
you really don't.
And James got in my head. James was like, "This is all the reasons why you need to give him." A break, and I was like, okay.
I mean, I don't really care. Like, the thing is like when it comes to Logan, like I don't really care.
No, but I'm
the part I feel most like annoyed with is like I do feel like Liam should be on the grid next year. I feel he's earned the right to be in the race seat next year, like not wait a whole other year. So there was a part of me that's like, why?
Yes, but did he have a hand in making that decision to say, okay, do I want to be locked in for a few years with Williams, or do I want a guaranteed seat in the Red Bull family in 1 year?
I don't know.
I feel like if it was me, which it will never be, but if it was me, I feel like I would take the Red Bull option.
Yeah,
potentially. Although I guess, contracts aren't sacred around these parts. So,
and look how well it's worked for other Red Bull drivers.
Contracts aren't sacred.
I mean,
they're just pieces
Alex
of paper.
Albon is living proof of that. Anyway, so yeah, I just was like, oh, there's Logan.
Yeah.
And then you had the nice little three-way
that was fun
sandwiching of Checo, Esteban, and Hulk.
Yeah, that grandstand got a real good view.
Really good view.
Yeah.
Glad no one was definitely a crash that I didn't really care about.
Definitely not. And Hulk just scooted away.
No, he was out.
But he drove away, didn't he? Because I didn't realize that he was actually out until later when I saw him in the garage.
I don't remember. Did he beach?
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did. Okay.
I mean, at least if he did, they were very much focused on Checo and Esteban.
Yeah. That was not good.
Checo's just... when he went like this, I thought he was yelling at Esteban, but I think he was just looking at his car like, can you believe this? And then when he... I don't know if you saw him. He was calling the marshals over as it. Well, I understand, but like they were on the way.
Yeah.
Like
it was very George.
Everybody, it was. Everyone knows that there was an incident. Like you don't have to wave them over.
Yeah.
Regardless.
There was great racing by George and Oscar. George got the lead of the sprint because he was on softs, but then Oscar was able to get it back, and there's all these safety cars, so it kept bunching up the grid.
Mm-hmm.
The Ferraris did really well. It was interesting because drivers were on such different. There were some on soft, some on medium. So obviously, as the soft started to go away, the people that were on the mediums were able to make some good headway.
Yeah.
Max didn't have a great start, so he kind of fell back a little bit, but then obviously managed to make it up, but not enough. So Oscar was able to get that W.
Mm-hmm.
And Lewis did inch a little bit closer in the standings after the sprint, but that was short-lived. But I think he's 33 points or something back.
I think he's gonna do it.
I mean, he has Austin, Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, and Abu Dhabi. He's 5 races left.
That's all we have left.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. It's big. It's a big gap.
I understand.
For the guy that's has the faster car to be ahead. Like if it was Lewis that had the faster car than Checo, I might be like, oh, I think he could get it. But
Checo keeps
screwing
Checoing, up. So I think
I guess so does Lewis.
Fair point. Guess we'll just have to see.
We'll have to see.
But yeah, so once again, it's gonna be a neck and neck for P2 in the championship.
And will Max do what he did last year? Remember?
No.
Brazil, Checo is fighting P2 in the championship, and Max has not let Checo pass, and Charles Leclerc gets P2 in the standings. So
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. To help Lewis of all people too.
He would.
Whoa, crazy.
Because this is complete.
Could you think he
nonsense.
has respect for Lewis, but not for Checo?
Yes. He hates Checo more than he wants Lewis to not get P2.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
My brain's a little...
I actually disagree. I think he likes Checo.
Oh, I don't at all.
I think he likes him as a person. Like, I don't think he thinks he's a great driver. I think he likes Checo.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite. I don't think he likes Checo as a person, and I think he puts up with him as a driver.
No.
But I literally have no idea. I've never asked him.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. And speaking of Max, he did win the championship in the sprint race.
Woo!
So
I know it was a big shocker for everybody.
Everyone was floored.
If I'm honest, I was kind of bummed. Like, it's so anticlimactic
to
win it in P2 of a sprint race,
and when it's a guy who's never won a race getting his first win. So Oscar's first win is kind of overshadowed by the championship.
Which, again, glad it was Oscar because Oscar was so chill about it. Like I genuinely don't think he cared. And if it was anybody else, like if it was Lando, can you imagine if Lando won his first race yesterday?
Right.
And we're celebrating for Max?
Yeah.
We definitely would have heard about it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Oscar is definitely the definition of like act like you've been here before.
Yeah.
He is acting like he's been here before.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
Good for Oscar.
But yeah, congrats to Max. Congrats to Red Bull. It's a big deal. Very exciting. I did see that very sad. Well, it was kind of jarring that Max. It's been 3 world championships since Lewis won his last race, which is insane. I mean, we only saw Lewis's first pole this season.
Yeah, it has been a rough go for Mr. Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, but he had a domination once, and I'm sure he'll have it again. So, wishful thinking.
Yeah,
I guess. I don't know.
I know. Yeah, why?
Because I'm trying to help you.
I don't need him to have a domination.
Well, but I was the one who said maybe Lewis will DNF today, and then he did. So I'm trying to, counterbalance my karma.
It's okay.
Thank you.
So anyway.
Hannah, when it happened, she was pretty upset as if it was my fault.
Yeah, it was your fault.
So I'm trying to fix it.
Okay, let's get to the race.
Okay.
So as I previously mentioned, the FIA did decide to limit the maximum number of laps for a new set of tires. So that was 18 laps you could go on a new set of tires, which all but guaranteed, well, it did guarantee at least a 3-stop race for every single driver. Some, if they had to use used tires that had, previous laps on them, they might have to do a 4-stop. But I don't like a 1-stop race.
No.
And
it's so fun.
And even though the pit stops today were relatively all fine and no one had a big issue, it does mix up. It leaves room for error.
Yeah.
Which always makes things more exciting.
Yeah. I saw someone say today in our fan amp chat that with all the pit stops today, it felt like an IndyCar race where you can't actually figure out who's pitted, who hasn't pitted.
Totally. Yeah. So if a driver, if they had gone over that 18 lap limit, they would have been disqualified from the race. No one did.
No.
I thought maybe there would be,
No, someone in the back was monitoring like crazy. And thank God we didn't talk about this, but thank God Ferrari only had one set of
Carlos doesn't start the race due to a fuel leak issue. So Ferrari had one less driver to worry about. Focus on
sad for Carlos, good for the pit crew.
Yeah, exactly. They really didn't focus on Ferrari at all today.
No, they didn't.
Didn't hear Charles. I mean, I heard his name a couple times, but I kind of basically not.
I was not paying attention to him at all.
Oops. Checo took a new power unit, so he started from the pit lane, which is funny because I don't think you. Well, yeah. So when Suzuka, Checo DNFs, but he had gotten a penalty.
Okay.
And so they decided to just send him back out to serve the penalty and then retire again, because there's a chance that if you don't serve your penalty, you will then have it enforced the following race. It was a whole thing during the Suzuka race.
Wait, how do you DNF and then go back out on the track? Is that what happened?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't crash. It was like a car issue. Anyway, then it's funny that he even after having done all of that, he still started from the pit lane. But yeah, anyway. But the start of the race, Lewis and George, ka-chow.
So stressful.
So rough. You hate to see two teammates.
You do.
I guess
George
was fine, but it just
Lewis's wheel had a Yuki wheel moment where it just kind of rolled away, and that was pretty sad.
Never forget the Yuki Baku wheel just rolling down the hill. That was one of the best moments of the season.
Yeah. I will say yesterday when we were watching quali, was that yesterday? No, on Friday.
Well, what's qualifying?
The
regular,
the real one.
Yeah,
so that was on Friday.
Yep.
We were talking about drivers who aren't accountable.
Yep.
And I feel like today, at the beginning, when the incident first happened between Lewis and George, they were both blaming the other person. But then I feel like they really both came around to apologize. I mean, the reality is, I think especially Lewis was just there really was, in the heat of the moment, I said, what I said, but there really was nowhere for him to go. And I totally get it, blah, blah. And I'm just nice.
Yeah. Nice. Right. And I rarely judge what people say right after because they don't know. They can't see what everyone else is, which is why they got
in the first place.
Yeah. So I do think, and Lewis, I think, is one of the drivers that he does, I think about the Oscar when I can't even remember what happened, but he ran into Oscar or something happened, and he apologizes to Oscar, and I think that's kind of it's a worse look. I mean, I feel like if you're a driver that has self-confidence and you know that you're a good driver, it's easier to be that was a mistake. It's the ones that are, well, I don't do anything wrong. It's well, they're probably so insecure because they don't actually believe they're capable of doing anything wrong. I'm trying to think of who the driver is that does not take accountability. You know who kind of doesn't really take much accountability? Pierre Gasly.
Yeah.
He doesn't. I'm trying to think of a situation where it was his fault.
Yeah.
He can be a little bit petty.
Yes.
I mean, we saw the Carlos moment. Esteban honestly also struggles with that as well. Let us know who the driver is that takes the least accountability. But Lewis is not on that list. I think he does a good job with that. There's just a lot happening. Pit stops. penalties, track limits. So it's like, you got to pass the penalty. You have to pit, moving up and down the grid.
And the one thing today that I wish like we had some sort of indication, because it was hard to keep track of like how many pit stops everyone had. Like they would change it every now and then. But I was like, okay, so Alex Albon's leading for a hot minute, or he's like up at the top. But like, with that, no offense, you can just go kind of, okay, well, he needs to pit again soon. And like, anyway. And that was kind of hard to keep track of. And I just felt like everyone kept bouncing around. And I mean, it was fun. It was definitely entertaining. But I was really surprised that we didn't have more incidents than we did.
Yeah, we basically had the safety car at the end or beginning of the race, and then no other safety car.
Yeah, it was like self-inflicted penalties for track limits and stuff.
Yeah, but no other.
And then Hulk was in Carlos's spot.
Oh yeah, that was dumb.
It's too bad.
That was really dumb.
Yeah, but I mean, how unusual! Like it's so rare that you have an empty
I'm sure
spot.
That's what I was saying though. It's like I don't know why his engineer wasn't repeatedly telling him like,
don't go there, don't go
space, because of course your instinct is to just go to the next space. He probably
and as Crofty said so poetically, he didn't leave a blank space.
Totally.
He did that on purpose.
Because it always comes back to Taylor Swift.
But blank space does not make sense in that context. There is no chance he did that on accident.
I kind of disagree. I think there's a way that you could say he didn't leave a blank space.
I would have said he should have left it empty. But maybe it's a American thing.
I don't know. I think it was. I don't.
Well, let me be delusional. It's fine.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they definitely did do a bunch of puns with the Fernando rumors back in the day.
That is true.
Speaking of Fernando, he was just going crazy, flying off the track,
flying all over,
flying back in the track, needing.
Oh my god! And then when it first happened, when he like kind of got in the gravel and then came back out, it looked fine. But then when they showed like the overhead view, he almost plowed into Charles.
I know.
I never call him Charles. That felt weird.
Chuck.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was really crazy. And then he was complaining about the seat being too hot.
Yeah,
he needed
like, can you guys like give me some water or something? I was like, no, you can just dump some ice in him.
Exactly. I'm surprised they don't like sit on like an ice pack.
I know, but I mean,
it's gonna melt in seconds.
Moments,
at least. The other really funny moment was Lando singing. I would like for you to reenact if you.
Okay, I'm trying to remember what he said. So he was asking about. Oh, I think he wanted to change positions with Oscar, and his race engineer was just like, no, hold positions. And he goes, why would you want to do that? I'm quicker. And it was just so like little kid, like, you can't catch me.
I'm quicker. It was so weird. It was just like, what is he doing?
So funny, though. And then it was just like, I don't know. It was just giving me the like, na boo boo. I don't know. It was just like, okay.
It was
you're still not gonna pass him because we said they literally like, we don't care. Stay where you are.
Yeah. It was
so unhinged.
It was very unhinged. It was like it was a weird time to be silly.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I think it's almost like that. Okay, wait. It feels like when like you have when you're younger and like a babysitter's over, and it's like you're trying to convince them to like let you have dessert again, and you're just like, it could be fun. Yeah. Like I feel like he was trying to do his like charming, convincing thing, but really he sounded like a creepy man with a van and like a lolly or something. I've got candy.
Oh my god.
Anyhow.
It was funny. You got to give, I mean, Lando's underrated, good on the radio.
Yeah.
Like you have the obvious with the Yukis and the Georges and whatever, but Lando can bring it sometimes.
I mean,
he usually is like a little bit petty and like whiny, like when he's like, what are they even racing? They're not even racing for anything.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of his MO.
They're racing for their life, Lando.
The I'm quicker.
Yeah.
That is like all kind of the same sort of like, it's like he's in second grade and he's like annoyed at the teacher.
For sure.
But we love Lando.
Love him. So I'm in my Lando
so much.
I'm definitely, it feels really weird having a McLaren moment right now because I just so wasn't last season.
I know.
I
know. It's like now we're like free to like them.
Yeah. And like the drivers from McLaren. I just want to be super
totally. And
a lot of the other
women
people
that work for
absolutely
McLaren, we love so many of them. So
many.
Yeah.
All of them.
Logan got sick. That was rough.
That was when I felt the worst for him, genuinely, because you just know, like, I mean, he wasn't like maybe doing the best he's ever done, but he was doing fine. And like, he was still driving the car, which is really relevant over the last few weeks to like still be in it. And he basically just comes on the radio and he's just like, I do not feel well at all. And like, he's like, it was kind of hard to hear him because it was muffled and they didn't have the captions for it, but it sounded like he was just like, I'm going to go as far as I can. Like, you have my word. I'm just going to like do my best. And James is like, it was either James or I think it was a mix of both. Like James and his engineer were just like, it's not worth it. I mean, if like you have to look out for yourself, like it's your call and we are completely fine with it if you decide to retire.
And he really wasn't, I mean, not to pull back Lando, but he wasn't racing for anything. Like,
no, I mean, he was P18.
Yeah. So it wasn't like he was right on the fringe of points or something like that. Like it wasn't going to, they probably didn't care because they were like, well.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like because when it happened, it's like, well, okay, I understand you want to finish the race and like that, like good on you for wanting to like make that a goal, but you're not, even if he was like at P11 and like had a chance to get to P10 or something, it's like, it's just not going to happen today, especially if you're sick. And honestly, like we were talking about it when we were watching it. Like, I feel like it was such a hard decision to make, but the smart one, because like he could have really injured himself or someone else. I mean, right at the end when he was about to retire in box, it looked like he was kind of starting to swerve a little bit, and then he like was slowing down so someone could pass him because I feel like he was just like not well.
I also read that Esteban apparently maybe threw up in his which is
big yikes. I wonder if the driver cam was
I think a lot of drivers had trouble getting out of the car.
Yeah. Max looked like he was having a hard time getting out of the car.
I think Lance maybe went to the like medical ambulance.
Oh, really?
Because he wasn't feeling well. I think a lot of drivers were not feeling good. And, you know, I mean,
where were their trainers? Were they hydrated properly?
I know.
Electrolyted properly.
Well, and this is the problem with racing in places like Qatar in the freaking desert. I mean, there's a reason why they moved the World Cup that was in Qatar to December, because it's so hot. It's like there's some health factors that need to be, taken into account. I mean, they kept pulling up their visor.
Yeah, George was driving with his wrists for a while so he could get some air. Like I
mean, it's just not.
Dangerous.
It's dangerous. So I don't know. I don't know what needs to be done.
Well, they probably need to push this race further in the year, I would imagine.
Yeah, October might be too early. Or, I don't know, make it shorter.
Because isn't Abu Dhabi at the end?
Yeah, it's the last.
So like,
I know they should do a double header. I mean,
a double desert header.
Double desert header. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they should. Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, a lot of the calendar doesn't make any sense.
Correct.
So obviously, Max wins. Oscar comes in P2, Lando P3. I got Oscar laughing in the cooldown room.
So funny.
Because they showed the Lewis and George crash. Or
that's what it was. I mean, he saw, well, I think they kind of showed it. And Lando made the comment that like George had nowhere to go.
Oh.
And I think Oscar was like, was it the Mercedes that crashed? And then he just goes, ah, while he's like sprawled out on the floor.
Yeah.
And that was just, it was just funny. Relatable and funny. And he looked so delirious and exhausted. Lando was the only one that was
kind of okay.
He was standing during the interviews. Well, while everyone else, like Oscar and Max, were sitting while Lando was being interviewed. And then Lando, I guess, continued to stand. And then when they went into the cooldown room, Lando sat in the wrong chair. It like will never stop bugging me. Stop sitting in the wrong chair. Your number is on the wall.
I know.
And then Max and Oscar just kicked it on the floor, which like I love a ground moment.
Me too.
Yeah, I think it's great. I completely understand it. It's much cooler.
Yeah, totally.
You can lay down. It's like flat. And then I did feel bad when they went up to the podium, and because they had to put their full race suits back on. I imagine they were really damp. Like putting on a wet.
But they all had a nice ice bath.
Yeah, but then
today.
The champagne didn't fizz.
Oh yeah,
that was so weird.
Oh my god.
So we were trying to figure out if like it wasn't actually champagne, like if there was something else, because I don't know. I don't know the rules, but and then we just didn't know if it was like maybe they've been open for days and so it was just flat. But they were all very confused. But I don't think a trophy was broken this time around, which is great. Go Lando, I'm proud of you.
Yep.
And yeah, ice baths and liquid IV and naps.
Yeah, and just recharge.
Yeah.
Maybe an actual IV
drip. Yeah.
Just for
so true.
Electrolytes.
And then they're headed back to America.
Let's do our pyramid real quick. So just bottom of the pyramid, pretty self-explanatory, but you got Lance Stroll.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
we discussed.
Logan Sargent, again, also discussed. Just difficult. And, now it's now we're in the sympathy territory, which is a place that no one wants to be. No F1 driver wants to be in that.
No.
Yeah. And then Carlos, just because didn't even get to race, didn't get a shot.
Big bummer. Although I'm glad that he didn't DNF. Like, I'm glad he because that's always a bummer.
Yeah. It's like you can.
I don't know what's worse. It's like DNFing or just like not even being able to start.
I know. Honestly, I think the worst is Yuki when he DNF'd on the formation lap. Yeah. It's like you've gotten so close and then nothing.
Yeah, nothing at all. I forgot about that.
That was bad. Middle of the pyramid, we have Lando. Again, a good weekend by all accounts, but some mistakes that cost him pole position potentially. And his teammate beat him in every aspect of the weekend, which is obviously difficult to swallow.
Oscar won before Lando. If you didn't know that, Lando hasn't won anything yet, and he will, but Oscar did, and that's got to be tough. And I feel like for someone like Lando, that sits with him a lot. I'll be curious how his headspace stays if that keeps happening, or I don't know. I feel like a Lando win is coming soon. I don't know about like a race win, but I could see a sprint win coming soon.
Yeah. I mean, a race win could even happen as well. I mean, McLaren's good enough to get in a position that a max DNF could lead to anything.
So true. And that turn one at Coda.
Exactly.
Anything's possible.
But only
just believe.
Max is not P1. But
so true.
We'll see. And then the next middle of the pyramid, we have George Russell, who had a good weekend, but obviously, loses out on the sprint because he was on the soft tires and just wasn't able to sustain that. And then getting hit by your own teammate, that really probably cost him a good, having to go back to the back of the pack. But recovered well.
Yeah.
P4, solid race. I don't know that there was much more he could do. So
I also don't think I've had the opportunity to discuss this with you, but I really like the change in his hair.
I know, it's so much better.
I'm glad it's happened, and that's irrelevant to everything else, but it's relevant to me.
I completely agree. It looks a lot better. And then top of the pyramid is a tie this week. And I know that's cheating, but it feels like it's worthy this week. Max Verstappen winning his 3rd championship. Cementing himself as, truly one of the greats, and Oscar Piastri, a future world champion, I think.
For sure.
Getting his first win in quotations, but, winning the sprint race, P2 in the race. Very solid, very good, and excited to see what his future looks like.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting because at the beginning of the season, if you would have told me that we were going to start seeing a Red Bull McLaren podium, on a decently consistent basis, I would have not believed you at all.
Totally.
But I'm here for it.
And that I would be a really big Oscar fan. That I would really be.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I didn't like him.
I just didn't know.
Yeah, I just didn't know. And then fan and foe. Do you want to start with your fan?
Yeah, my fan is Nicole Piastri. I think she deserves everything and more. She's hilarious on Twitter, and I just really appreciate her. And I don't think I realized, I went to her Twitter yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. I didn't realize, does Oscar have 3 sisters?
I don't know how many siblings he has.
So I think if I read the photo correctly, it's his mom, him, and then I think he has 3 sisters.
Oh wow,
that's a lot. Well, yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of estrogen in one house. I think he's handled it well.
I think he's handled it very well.
So anyway, I love the Piastri family, and I'm really excited to see Oscar and Drive to Survive because I just know that I'm going to have a real Oscar moment next season.
Yeah.
I feel it coming.
Yeah. My fan this week is Lewis Hamilton's rainbow helmet. So for those who don't know, obviously racing in Qatar.
Yes.
And Qatar doesn't have the best practices when it comes to the way that they treat the LGBTQ community. And for those who don't know, last year, the World Cup was in Qatar, and a lot of teams wanted to wear, captains of teams wear like a captain's armband, to, show who the captain is. A lot of teams wanted to wear rainbow armbands, but FIFA said that was considered a political act and that they would be carded for it.
Okay.
They get a yellow card, and obviously the World Cup, if you get a certain number of cards, you will be like, you can miss games, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So teams didn't want to risk it and do that. But obviously, it spawned a whole thing. But anyway, Lewis decides to show his support by doing that. Now, obviously, people could say, well, if he really supported them, he wouldn't race in Qatar or whatever. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that everyone could do. But I still think Lewis is the kind of person that does the best he can, I think, to stand by what he believes in.
Yes.
And I respect that. Unfortunately, you only got to see it for about 30 seconds. Your foe.
It's super first world problems. I don't know why I said word. World problems. But I'm fairly certain that the new Enchante drop will not arrive before we go to Coda.
When is it launch?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. But like I would imagine it's coming out. It's dropping early next week, but I don't think it will ship in enough time for me to get it before Coda, which is too bad. Also, the other Enchante shirt that I ordered, you got yours already, didn't you? From the sale? Yeah. I haven't gotten mine.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to check on that. Because you said it was sold out, but I paid for it.
Okay.
The money came out of my bank account.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to have
double check on that
with someone. I will.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. Anyway, it's a lame foe, but it's what I got.
It's what. Yeah. My foe is Lance's attitude towards his trainer. Not that he was disappointed. Not that it was invalid, but that
that he shoved his trainer. Yeah, it's too bad.
I didn't love that. Though he did say that they're fine, they're cool, they're chill, which I'm sure that they are because, you heat of the moment, athlete. I mean, Michael Jordan, famously punched his teammate. It happens, whatever. But doesn't make it
important.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's important not to do that. And
it's important not to do that.
And to talk. I mean, I think to bring attention to it when stuff like that happens.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get to some of these questions, comments, concerns. Let's see. A lot of people saying, what do you think of the driver's well-being after this race? Half of the grid
very nervous,
ill.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but to me, it feels like it's too early. Like it needs to be pushed out further, or be like at the beginning of the year. Like, because is Bahrain at the beginning of? And I'm so sorry, my geography is trash. But Bahrain and
Saudi,
Qatar, they're near each other, correct? Like you could do a Bahrain and then go straight to Qatar potentially.
You could. I mean, they do Bahrain, Saudi Arabia back to back, or like relatively back to back,
right.
Like February, March. But then the problem is with the calendar is like a lot of it is geographical, but then a lot of it is also like Bahrain pays to be the first race.
Sure.
Abu Dhabi pays to be the final race. You have Miami has to be at a certain time because of weather concerns.
Yeah.
Like
I know
places have to be,
but I think Qatar is making the weather concern list now.
Yeah, and I don't know what the temperature was. Like, would there have been a huge difference between now and December or November?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows? But not the best. Who's to blame for the lap 1 collision? LH or GR? I feel like Lewis. I think I don't think it was like egregious like the
I think he could have gone wider.
George didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
So it was,
and I think they both are aware of that. But it was just a classic, lap 1 situation.
I hope Qatar never happens again.
I don't know. The track was kind of fun.
I think they signed up for another 10 years. So buckle up.
Perfect.
Buckle up. Someone said Lewis taking full responsibility just makes me love him more and makes me more salty at George Russell. I mean, it's not really George's fault.
No.
I don't think it's, George didn't do anything wrong to me. People are saying, I hope Logan's feeling okay.
Me too.
I do as well. Alfa Romeo finished double points. We didn't really even talk about that.
Oh my God, they were doing so well. I remember I was like paying attention, and then there's so much kerfuffle.
You always forget about Alfa.
It makes me sad.
But yes, Valtteri finished P8, Joe finished P10. I think because of a penalty or something, a couple penalties, Joe was able to get P10.
Very exciting.
They've had a rough go.
They have.
So it is good for them that they were able to bounce back. Good for them. Someone said, I am so in love with this papaya team, but I cannot deal with it if they start fighting each other.
I know.
Buckle up.
The good news is, though, I don't see them fighting in like a traditional team enemy way because of how chill Oscar is. Like, and maybe that's actually infuriating for someone like Lando because Oscar's just going to be so chill about it. But I don't think Oscar's going to like feed into any rivalry.
Yeah,
Oscar's just going out there and doing it. And I could see where in his mind, he's like, well, you're just not driving faster than me.
Sure.
And that's not my fault.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fight with you about that.
Somebody said race leader Alex Albon is my Roman Empire. I don't care that it was just one lap.
Amen.
Oh, someday.
It was fun to see the W all the way up there.
It was great.
But that I also knew that meant he hadn't stopped yet.
Somebody said, still feeling sad about Lewis. Zoe, what do you suggest for comfort food or activities?
Oh, that's a great idea. We love a hot girl walk.
Yeah. Stay off the internet. Lewis is okay. Like, this is the thing with someone crashes and it's like, oh, that sucks. But it's like the racing is probably not at risk. Mm-hmm. Like the worst is when someone fucks up and you're like in this case, it would be a Logan Sargent because it's just like they're already in such a hole that like this is really affecting their future.
Yeah.
Lewis's future is fine. He's okay. Not that helps you, makes you feel better. What's a good comfort movie to watch?
Oh, there's so many. For me, The Parent Trap is always up there.
Good.
I do love Crazy Stupid Love.
Yeah.
And also Set It Up.
Okay.
On Netflix.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do, I don't know if this person is a Harry Potter fan, but I've been wanting to do because I feel like Harry Potter is like a fun fall thing to watch. Yeah. So maybe if you're a Harry Potter fan, like start a Harry Potter, watching the series. And
can we watch the Harry Potter movies I haven't seen yet?
Sure. Which ones have you not watched?
I think 5 and on.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Because I've seen the Triwizard Tournament, which is 4. And what's 5 called? Half-Blood Prince?
No, Order of the Phoenix.
Order of the Phoenix. TBD. Not sure if I've seen it. Definitely haven't seen any of the ones after Order of the Phoenix.
My brother and I last Christmas, because I hadn't seen like the 6th and the 7th. There's 2, 7, or part 1, part 2 in a long time. So we rewatched those. It's like a fun. I don't know. It just like is a good spooky vibe.
Yeah.
Even though
but
it's
like not scary, but like intense.
Exactly. Should Lando and Oscar have been allowed to fight?
Not up to us.
I don't know. Not up to us. Yeah.
Plus, if they were, we wouldn't have gotten to hear Lando.
I also saw ESPN F1 tweeted or posted that Lando Norris has told various media outlets that some of the drivers fainted in the medical center after today's race.
Oh my God.
Rough.
What are we doing out here, folks?
What are we doing? Yeah, let's be better than this.
That's not good.
Yeah. And I don't know what we got a video of Lewis and George hugging it out.
Aww.
Lewis says sorry about today and good for them. Okay.
Oh, bro.
They're fine. They're both people that I think like they're gonna battle and they're gonna have some incidents and some stuff, but I think they're like it's part of the job. Be as personal as Nico Lewis. It's not gonna cut so deep.
No.
Because
Lewis won't
Lewis
let
is old and George is young.
Lewis is old.
He's so old. Almost 40.
That's still crazy to me.
Wait, I think he might be turning 39. Let me see.
But see, the thing is, it's crazy. It's because how old's Fernando?
42. Crazy.
But they don't look close to the same age.
They do not. Yeah, Lewis will turn 39 on January 7th.
Oh wow,
Capricorn. Interesting.
That's weird. I'll tell you why that's weird later.
Okay. Anyway, I think that's all for today. All for this race weekend. We've got a non-race weekend, obviously, next week. So we'll figure out something to do. Mm-hmm. And then we have Austin, which we'll be doing.
I can't wait.
I think an episode while we're there, but it probably will just be audio only. Who knows? We got to figure out our schedule for that.
We'll keep you apprised.
But we'll obviously take you along with our journey at Austin. It'll be a lot of fun. If you are going to Austin, if you see us out and about or anywhere or whatever, please come up to us because
please say hi.
I have bracelets to give people.
Oh, that too. But I also I feel like before we got last year when we went, we got messages like, we saw you, but we didn't want to bother you. Bother us. Come say hey.
Yeah. And I have Fan Behavior Pod bracelets made. I have some driver bracelets made. So I'd love to give you a bracelet.
What a queen my co-host is. What an absolute legend.
And yeah, I think that's kind of it. Anything else to say?
No.
Okay. Well, everyone enjoy your week and we'll see ya at Austin.
Enchante.